Alright, it's time for that moment when Crystal Castle's Amnesty 1 review. This was a pretty inevitable review for many reasons, and a lot of people be like, why is this the first one you're reviewing? First of all, I think this is the easiest to listen to right now for my current state, although I did not realize how low I had the volume until after I listened to everything, and I was like, oh, wow, I have my volume really low. I was still able to hear everything properly. It's just these songs are loud, I guess a lot louder than I thought. But with the mixing and everything, I do tolerate this a lot more than I thought I would. Like, I've talked about crimes, and they have an issue. I was like, oh, it really can give me a headache with how loud some of the stuff is or how abrasive it is, and which is annoying because I do like the music and it doesn't really take away from it, but it can if it doesn't like give enough substance. I really knock down something like Ring Road from the latest Model Actress album for that reason, right? It's just loud and then I don't like it. Or that the last track on that Sewer Slit record, where it's just loud and I hate that it does the transition. I don't super hate it on these tracks. Obviously, this album has constantly been in hot water for a number of reasons and the artist, and I'm not going to say that I like the individual people who work on it. I the same thing with Sewer Slit. I separate her from the artist, unless it's inseparable. And to be fair, this was the first time I've fully read the lyrics on this full album, and it's clear that this album is made for a reason, right? And there's a lot of bitterness in it and things, but at the same time, like, people still talk really greatly about how that kind of stuff happens with the first two albums, and those two albums also have a lot of, like in real life bad things that they're related to in the lyrics, but it doesn't change what they can kind of do and the artistry of it. So I tend to have it a bit separated, but there are some parts of it where, because for example, I love Suffocation from Crystal Castles 2. It's probably one of my favorite songs ever, but it's a very toxic song, and there are a lot of songs like that in their first two albums, even like Alice Practice, from what I remember. I don't fully remember the lyrics, but and Kept is definitely something that's kind of in there, and we will talk about Kept for a couple reasons. You know what? Let's just talk about more of this album and my kind of enjoyment of it. How has it gone? And this is actually the first Crystal Castles album I think I fully listened to. I hadn't listened to the first few albums from them, right? This one had popped up in my feed after listening to Crimes, and I was like, okay. And I knew nothing about the group, and I just knew, oh, I like Char, and I enjoy everything else except Chloroform, right? That's kind of where I was at, and Kept didn't exist because at the time I was listening to it, it was fully off streaming. And I have heard it once now, and I'll get to it later, but that was where I was at. And then the longer I listened to it, kind of like the Death Brain record, it just kept going up and up and up for me, until I hit a point where it was just in my rotation pretty consistently. But I started really enjoying their other albums more, even though I think they're a lot harder as a full listen. I think this is the easiest front to back listen of their entire discography, and I'm not kidding. I will get to Crystal Castles 3 maybe eventually, because that's an album I really have never liked, but this one I always enjoyed, and over time it's kind of tapered off, and I can see why, but there are still some things I really like about it. I will say the first track I think is one of the worst on the album. It's I don't hate it, but it's very like, oh, we just put the like kind of trap style beat or whatever, just this very basic beat over this just reversed sample, and it doesn't feel like there's that much going on. Um, I don't have much to say like in comparison to something like Untrust Us, which has way more going on, or even Fainting Spells, which is way more aggro. This is just a very basic intro. It's kind of boring. Fleece, on the other hand, I love, and I really, really, really love this track. I think that it also does get really great justice done from the like Yeet remix, but it's just a very, even if it is loud, I love this track. Same thing with Char, although I do feel like this track has waned a bit on me on the fact that the lyrics are just fully repeated. There is not a lot of variance here, and it the one thing with this album, which I feel like between this and the first track really get, is that it's very, while I do love a lot of the synths and some of the samples and things, and really the way that some of the synths and everything sound, it makes it both very listenable but also feel a little like manufactured. Like it doesn't feel as clean, or maybe more like not as clean but a bit more basic, I think, is more of what it is. It doesn't feel as it's going for enough in a lot of spots. And Char really feels like it could have done more. I do like Emph. I do like Sadist, although not sure about some of the lyrics, but it's still an enjoyable track. And then Teach Her How to Hunt, I actually shockingly like as an instrumental. I really don't have too much issue with it. Chloroform has gone up for me a lot, and I don't love it, but I really, really like the atmosphere of Chloroform. The, like, again, in relation to something like Suffocation, it's like it's just very dark, and it's very different from a lot of the tracks in this album. So I have a lot of like enjoyment that I do get from it, but there was a long time where I hated it, and I don't know. I do like it, but I don't know. It's very hit or miss for me in general, even if I think that it conceptually can be really cool. Um, I do like Frail and how it builds up. It's a little basic, but I do like it. Concrete is like a brainworm classic. I do like it a lot. Ornament is maybe my favorite song on the album. It's basically just a very basic, chill, like song that just samples Char, and it's just like instrumental, and it's very enjoyable. Like it's mostly just instrumental, and I really don't have any complaints about it at all. This is like one of the easiest songs for me to put on and loop indefinitely. Even though it is repetitive, I love the way the samples go in and out, which I can't say for one of the most popular song on this entire project, and the one I truthfully have only heard all the way through one time because it is like deleted from the internet, is Kept. I don't get it. I'm gonna be real. This has always been an 11 track album to me, and I have only now heard it because I had to dig and dig and dig to find it. Not really that much, but like I had to find like a Google Drive link and then not download it because I don't want to get random viruses or whatever. But like I shouldn't have to do that to find a song. It's very stupid, and it's very funny that it's just listed in the track list anyway. So I was like, fine. It's repetitive. I don't actually really like how the samples go in and out. I don't really like the backing basses. I get the energy and the vibe and that people have nostalgia for this, but I just really, really don't get it. And I don't have much to say, honestly. This is just a track that I don't care about at all. Um, and it's just too long. Like Ornament, I'm fine with for 4 minutes. This I don't. Like I got it. I was checking the time like the whole song. Um, and then Their Kindness is Charade is another one where I'm like, oh, with the lyrics, I don't know. it's definitely like kind of suffocation realm, but I don't know. I don't know. I'm very I do really like the instrumental on it, but it is a bit basic. At the very least, it's a very like climactic ending, and I do still enjoy it. Overall, of the 12 tracks, Kept is kind of a skip. I can't believe I'm saying that. And Chloroform really depends. And yeah, so it's like 3 out of 12. But most of these are just enjoyable, with Ornament being like a very star track. But this whole project still feels off in a way that I is really only become apparent in recent time, and I mean that fully just musically. I don't, again, I'm trying to dissociate it from all of the other garbage going on at the point, right? But it, I think that it does just not do too much. I know a lot of people would think, well, aren't you going to complain about the vocals and Edith? Nope. I really like the vocals in this album overall, except for one part. There's one song that I'm not remembering which one, where they kind of rush through. I think it's Sadist. Uh, I think Sadist has it where they just rush through one of the bars and it's a little annoying. There's like one or two spots, but it's not like a major letdown. It's like it lets it down a little bit, but I don't know. Um, but yeah, this album, I think it just needs more of a punch. But like, I think there was a lot of potential here, all things considered, and it is a disappointing project to fall on, like to end on. But at the same time, like again, I've talked about it before. I feel like the mixture of what you would get in their older albums made it really hard to listen all the way through. Like Crystal Castles 1 and 2 have such vast variations in their parts of the track list that like this album has real flow. Yeah, Fleece is kind of a jump scare, but like the album overall flows really well between the first half and the second half, which I imagine with the vinyl would be the first 6 tracks and the second 6 tracks, 7 to 12 and 1 to 6. Like, I think those work really well. Like, Chloroform is a very weird track to have in the mid spot, but I don't mind it, like, most of the time. Still, I still think it is just a bit too off, and geez, I did not realize how how loud a lot of that is mixed. That does make my opinion a little more different. uh Overall, I'm probably like a flat 7. Like, I really do think it could and should be higher, but like the biggest issue is it just does feel a bit fake. This whole album feels a bit fake, and there are too many inconsistencies and things, but it is still a like enjoyable listen the whole way through. I still do like it, and I do think it does get to be 2 tiers above average, but again, this album feels off-putting in a way, even outside of the realm of what it is, and so I just don't think it deserves to be. I don't think it deserves to be higher, even for my own enjoyment of it. Like it really has tanked a lot for me. It probably would have been like a 9 in its like heyday. But I think between that, adding Kept in, and then just really all the kind of weird rough edges, it does feel like they could have executed a bit better, even with how, because like even if this was like as basic as it's kind of setting out to be, I feel like with the edges trimmed and everything, it would be a bit better. But I just don't think it goes for enough, and I don't think that it does well enough in where it's at. But I don't know. That's just me. I just have too many things that drag it down. But even then, I do have a lot of like things I enjoy about this project. So I don't know. It will probably still not be my favorite of all of their albums, but it's definitely the easiest for me to get through. And you know the moment when, yeah, I'm shocked. I thought I was gonna like Kept because everyone likes that song seemingly, but just because you have a Beach House sample does not mean I'm gonna like the song. I'm sorry.